My name is Tom Bolton. My job role is an applications engineer, which means I bring 3D printing solutions to existing applications. I was gifted a 3D printer when I was 14. I love the technology so much I went to do work experience for the company building 3D printers out of their spares. I then enjoyed it so much that I then applied for a full-time job and got it. One of the first things I 3D printed was a flexible bracelet made out of a tough polymer. The fact that I could make a strong polymer flex was mind-blowing to a 14-year-old. The coolest thing I've ever 3D printed was a crocodile's tail. This crocodile had the tail bitten off by a predator. Because we made the tail out of a flexible polymer, the crocodile could use it to swim through the water and survive in the wild to hunt. I own 17 3D printers. They are designed for different types of technology, so SLA and FDM. They're also designed for specific applications. I have some 3D printers that print carbon fill materials, stainless steel and polycarbonates. I also have some 3D printers that are large scale for bigger parts and some that work with resins. I built up my knowledge of 3D printing by making lots of errors, especially in the beginning when I was new to 3D printing. Even now I make mistakes on projects, but I make sure that I learn from them so that my knowledge grows on a daily basis. We've done a lot of work on designing and building 3D printers for a specific application. We spent some time developing and building a 3D printer for stainless steel 3D printing. The printers we based them on shouldn't be able to 3D print stainless steel, but with our modifications they could. The time I would spend designing and modifying a basic 3D printer depends on its application. I have some 3D printers that require hardened feeders, hardened nozzles and new thermocouplers for printing carbon film materials. I also have some for printing high temperature materials which would then need an enclosure. Some of the materials need heated chambers, so it really depends on what material I'm looking to print with and what application I need the 3D printer for. It could be anywhere between an hour to a couple of weeks. Well, I personally have worked with a racing team to develop 3D printed parts that are better and stronger than factory-made parts. This means that the car can last longer but is also lighter, so we're trying to make the world's lightest 3D printed race car. I am working on a project at the moment for my auntie. It's a gutter clip which is going to suspend a piece of material over two structures, meaning that rain doesn't fall through between a wall and a gazebo. I would like to work with companies that deal in the future of the planet. There are a couple who are dealing with space travel and also with new cars. I'd like to deal with them because they are paving the way for the future and also saving the planet for all us. I'd like to own my own company who specialises in 3D printing in the medical field so that I can 3D print parts for doctors to attempt operations on so their success rate goes up.
What I love about my job, either taking photos or filming, is the places where we travel to, whether it's here in the UK or abroad, different places we see, we visit, different people we meet, seeing people's reactions to their finished wedding album or wedding film. Everything is just great. I've turned a hobby into a career. It was my dad who first got me interested in photography. Early 90s, I bought myself a Canon kit. That started my passion in taking photos. And I bought myself a drone, then that progressed me more into filming. We've bought professional equipment, a couple of Panasonic cameras, we've got all the gimbals, this, that and the other. Drones have expanded, we've got the Inspire, we've got Mavic 2 Pro. We've had one client, he's taken us over to Bratislava, Vienna in Austria to fly over there commercially. We fly for Ford, Kia, Hyundai, Lexus, lots of other organisations. So drones for us are fantastic. Also, we wanted to go live, so we bought a A10 mini switcher, so we could sort of switch between cameras. We bought wireless transmitters and receivers. Since December 2020, we have been doing live funerals. I bought a Live View Solo, so we are now able to live stream funerals. That's a great piece of kit. I've had to learn a lot about that. John has been helping out a great deal. He does all the switching. Invariably, I just go up myself, just a one-man camera operation team, but there have been times when we've had 2 or maybe 3 cameras and John's there switching. So yeah, we're sort of going with the time, so this will put us in great sort of stead of all the experience we've had now of live streaming these funerals, so we can live stream virtually anything. Where do I see myself in 5-10 years time? Live streaming is the way forward for us. That's what I'm going to pursue with streaming conferences when we can get back to being back together again.
We chose to interview someone we knew. I picked my boyfriend Tom, who is an applications engineer for a 3D printing company in the area. On screen you'll see the interview sequence with Tom where I worked with lighting equipment for the first time properly. I used 3 Lupolux cameras and attempted 3-point lighting with a hair light, backlight and key light. I tried to create the Rembrandt triangle on the right hand side of his face, which if you can see I've just about managed, but it's not very defined. Using 3-point lighting and backlight meant I could separate the subject better from the background. Props and different lighting helped to do this also. The lights in the background highlight the printers and add something of interest to the background, with the 3D printed models of Thor's hammer and the Infinity Gauntlet. When framing the shot, I tried to stick to the rule of thirds and have the subject on one side. I could have perhaps framed him a little more on the left-hand side, so he would be in the left third more. I used peaking and zebra tools on the camera when recording all my footage to try and make sure that all my shots are in the best focus too. On screen you'll see I had some issues with lighting. In the right corner of the shot, the lights are really bright and don't look right. I think the shot's quite overexposed in those areas, but I had constraints filming in such a small space, as well as having a limited knowledge of the best practices of using studio lights, meaning I was working with what I knew and what I had. As you can see in this shot, I have a similar issue with the rag on the left-hand side of the screen being overexposed and, again, not looking too great. Another issue was with the different lightings. So at the next continuity sequence, there's a difference between this shot and this shot. This is because the lights where the printers were are quite orangey, whereas the studio lights I had were more daylight settings. So between these two shots you can see a difference in the colour and the exposure. Next time I will try and be more attentive and double check the focus between 2 different shots like this, so that I don't have these issues again. If you look at this continuity sequence again, I believe this continuity sequence works quite well because I combined 3 different shots. I have a wider shot and close-ups. The close-up better shows what is on the printer screen, and this shot provides some new information about printing and the technical side of it when setting up a printer. I believe that with Marius's editing, I created some strong continuity cuts in the space given. For example, the shot reverse shot, as well as other shot reverse shots, for example. There are moments where perhaps I could have included another shot reverse shot, for example this shot. Perhaps I could have shown a reverse shot of Tom's reaction to the 3D printed model. For next time, I will probably try and include more shot reverse shots and subject to subject shots, just to add something a little bit more interesting to the continuity sequence. I believe that the music that Marius chose to put on top of the interview works quite well. It's a low enough volume to be not distracting, but to add something to the background as well. Overall, I believe that we created a strong piece between us with Jordan's clips, my clips, and Marius's editing.